Hi, I'm Shammy Anderson, Senior Representative with Defenders of Wildlife with the Rockies and Plains program. And we're here in the Shirley Basin in Wyoming. This is our second year trapping foxes in Wyoming for the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation recovery program. So the Assiniboine and Gros Ventre tribes up there in Montana are working on a 5-year program to bring swift fox back to their lands. And our job is to trap them and move them up there.
Hi, I'm Hila Shamoun. I'm a research ecologist with Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute. Smithsonian is leading the science on the swift fox reintroduction to the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation. And I'm one of 6 scientists working on the project, each of us with their own expertise from genomics, landscape ecology, movement ecology, endocrinology, and so on.
Yeah, so swift foxes are an important predator on the prairie. They're quite small, about the size of a house cat. They primarily eat grasshoppers, small mammals such as prairie dogs, some birds. They utilize our prairie ecosystems for the ability to be able to look out great distances for their nighttime, sort of making a living on the prairie. We are down to only about 40% of our historic range of swift foxes across the Great Plains. And this is largely due to, in the 1880s to about the 1960s, there was massive conversion of our prairie grasslands to croplands, so our habitat was really fragmented and degraded. And then there was also mass poisoning efforts for other native plains wildlife. And unfortunately, swift fox also were incidental take in those lethal control operations. Wyoming Game and Fish Department has been extremely generous to allow for us to trap foxes here from their healthy population and move them up to Montana for the Fort Belknap Swift Fox Recovery Program. And it's just terrific that we can trap foxes here in Wyoming and move them up to Fort Belknap to expand their range and to bring them back to previously occupied habitats. So 60% of the prairie grasslands throughout America and even into Canada are absent of swift fox. So places like the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation, the Assiniboine and Gros Ventre tribes are really key. They have beautiful prairie, native prairie grasslands and are dedicated to bringing back native species. Swift fox are a predator, so they're out there, preying on prairie dogs, other small mammals, and it's just having that balance with the ecosystem and that, having the healthy grasslands with a diversity of species. And we just wrapped up our second year trapping swift foxes here in Wyoming. It was a total success. We caught 11 foxes in the last 2 days. Trapping the foxes, we also paid for the monitoring collars, so we'll be learning a lot about what animals pair up and have pups and how they're utilizing the habitat, and all of that is going into this important program. And we're just so honored we can contribute to this project.